welcome to another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. I'm out here again at the range. Today I'm doing a side-by-side comparison of the Smith and Wesson M&P Bodyguard 380, Micro Compact 380, the Sig Sauer P238, Micro Compact 380, and the Ruger LCP Max in 380, which is also a subcompact. But the difference between these three guns, oh, there's a tick on one of them, that's great. So the difference between the three guns, the M&P apparently attracts ticks and the other two don't. Anyway, I wanted to compare the three of these as far as function and how accurate I can be. I have a target set up at 25 yards. I know it's a bit of a stretch to shoot these little guns at 25 yards, but I like pushing myself. I like seeing what I'm capable of, and again, the heavy triggers on two of these versus the light trigger on one of them may have an impact, but the sights are all different as well. So I just wanted to do a quick video showing the differences and the similarities of these three. The M&P Bodyguard 380 is a 6+1 capacity. So the magazine holds 6, you can have one in the chamber, making it 6+1. The P238 is either a 6+1 with the small magazine or a 7+1 with the extended base magazine. So you can have either 7 or 8 rounds in it. And the LCP Max is a 10+1 magazine or a 13+1. I think it's 13, 12 or 13, I'm not sure. But I only have the 10-round magazines. That's what's legal in my state. So we're going to compare them. The M&P Bodyguard 380 is double action only. So every time you pull that trigger, it cocks the hammer and then fires it. So it's a very long, deliberate, but smooth trigger pull on this. Liken it to a double action revolver that has a smooth trigger pull. The Sig P238 is single action only, meaning the hammer has to be cocked. And when you pull the trigger, all it does is drops the hammer. When the hammer goes down and fires, the slide cycles, puts the next round in the chamber, and recocks the hammer. So this is single action only. And this one is kind of a half-cocked double action. It's internally hammer fired, but when you rack the slide, it halfway cocks the hammer. When you pull the trigger, it finishes cocking the hammer and then drops it down. So more like a double action than a single action would be, but it's kind of in between. So let's see how that translates to accuracy on paper at 25 yards between the three of these. The sights are all vastly different as well. The M&P has the smallest sights on it. The P238 has high-vis night sights on it. And the LCP Max has a tritium night front sight and just a trench rear sight. So let me grab my safety glasses. They're on my head, and let's get started. So starting off with the Bodyguard, this is the one that I have the most time behind. I think it's probably the one I'm going to shoot the best, at least as far as the trigger pull goes and things like that. And again, I don't expect a whole lot of accuracy out of these at this distance, but I figured it's something that should be tried. So here we go. Top target is going to be the Bodyguard. I'm going to do 2 magazines in each of these, and let's see how we do here.
I actually was recording footage with my phone of the targets as I was shooting. Unfortunately, I was zoomed in so far it came out really grainy, so I decided not to add that footage in.
I had a couple on target. I'm not sure where they all went, but I had a couple on target. So not very good accuracy with this. At 25 yards, I can only see 3 or 4 shots on paper, and they're probably about 6 or 7 inches apart. One of them was right next to the center of mass, 2 of them were up higher, but we'll check out the targets after. Let's go to the Sig P238. And again, I'm just going to use the 6-round magazines for now. And just for reference, all the ammo I'm using today is New Republic 380. These are 95 grain full metal jacket, just what I had a lot of. This is going to be the middle target, again at 25 yards with the Sig P238. So I think I definitely am a little bit better with this one just because of the bigger sights and the softer trigger. That was not too bad. At 25 yards, I would say that group is probably 8 to 10 inches at 25 yards. Most of the rounds were on target. But let's go last but not least to the LCP Max. See how this guy does. This one has a 10-round magazine, so I'll still put 2 magazines through it just to see how I do, and this is the bottom target. Not terrible. A little bit more consistent than the P238, but this trigger is definitely not as good. Well, let's go take a look at the target and see how we did. So walking up here to the target, the top one again was the M&P, and not very good. Had a bunch of them to the right. I only see 4 rounds on target, so I think this was my first shot. Then I shot a couple low, a couple off to the right, and then a couple high. Again, 25 yards, 75 feet. That's more than anybody would expect you to shoot out of a little pocket pistol like that. I still had a few on target. Not great by any means, though. The P238 was much better. As you can see, I shot 12 rounds and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, and those ones had to be from the Bodyguard. So I had all 12 rounds from the P238 on this target. Not too bad. I mean, that's probably a 14-inch group at 75 feet out of a little tiny barrel. Not bad. And then this on the bottom, this was the LCP Max. That one I shot 20 rounds at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know. So maybe some of those were from the LCP Max too. One over there. So I missed a few rounds with each one of the guns. I can tell you that much. But still, 75 feet. You can put a couple of good shots on target. That's not bad, but that's not really what that gun was made for. So let's see if I can get up a little bit closer with the camera and do this again. All right, so this time we're going to do the same drill, but now I'm only about 6 or 7 yards from the target. Starting off again with the M&P Bodyguard 380. Then I will go to the P238 and then the LCP Max, starting on the top target. So this is more of a realistic self-defense distance with this type of a gun. Oops. Helps if I put one in the chamber. So not bad. Let's do another magazine and see how I do. Let's try to do the top 3 small targets. So top left. In the chamber. So not bad at a realistic distance at all. All of those were in the second, third ring from the center. Let's do another magazine and see how I do. Let's try to do the top 3 small targets. So top left. Moving on to the P238, I'll go back to the middle target. Again, 6 shots, switch magazine and 6 more shots. So this one, the nice trigger on it definitely helps, as do the larger sights, but I'm still not a dead eye with it. So this one, the nice trigger on it definitely helps, as do the larger sights, but I'm still not a dead eye with it. But now let's go to the Ruger Max and let's see if I can do any better. Now, even though this has 10-round magazines, I only loaded 6 in each of the 2 magazines for posterity's sake. Let's see if I can do any better on that bottom target.
slightly stiffer trigger than I was expecting. Seem to shoot this one a little bit to the left. I think it's just because it actually has a slightly stiffer trigger than I was expecting. But to be fair, that is the first time that I've taken this gun out and done this type of shooting with it, so all in all, not too bad. Let's go back to the bench and wrap this up. So what's the takeaway from this video, if there's even a takeaway? Well, I've had the Smith and Wesson Bodyguard 380 longer than either of the other two. I've shot this considerably more than the other two. And again, when I did the 5 to 6 yard range shooting, I was able to hit center of mass very easily. The very pointed aim shots on those small dots, maybe not quite so accurate. This does have very small sights, kind of akin to a revolver, maybe a little bit taller on the rear sight than a revolver would be. So the sights aren't great, and it does have a long double action trigger. The P238 is probably the easiest out of the three to shoot, mainly again because it has that single action trigger, so pretty light, crisp trigger, easy to manage, and it also has pretty big sights on it. These are night sights, but even in the daylight, I think the front sight has fiber optic in it, very easy to see in bright daylight like this. But the accuracy was about the same as what I got out of the Smith and Wesson, because I'm just used to shooting the Smith and Wesson more. So this one, I think if I practiced a lot more and this was all I carried, I could probably get much better at the accuracy. And then the Ruger LCP Max. So far it's been reliable. It shoots well. It has nice tall sights on it. They are pretty easy to see. I wasn't quite as accurate with this. I think this trigger, I was expecting it to be a little bit softer than it was, because it does half cock that hammer, but it's very, very stiff to pull. And I think maybe that's just because I haven't shot it a whole lot, but I think it will break in and become a little bit easier to shoot. So just something else, one of those, you got to get used to it. Do I think any of these are any better than the others? Well, out of the three, I think you can pick up a Bodyguard the cheapest. You can probably pick up an LCP Max for in the middle of the other two, and the P238 is the most expensive. The P238, they don't make a lot of. I'm not even sure if they make any anymore. I bought mine used, and I spent quite a bit more than the first time I bought one, because I bought one years ago and traded it in, and then I went and bought another one, and this one I paid, I think I paid almost $500 for it used. I think it was like $450, and they're not always the easiest gun to find because they don't make a lot of them anymore. So this one being that, it's a Sig Sauer, it's based on the 1911 platform, it's familiar to people, has an aluminum frame, steel slide, it shoots very well, it has a good trigger. This might be the best choice for a lot of people, but it's very expensive. These guys, the Smith and Wesson Bodyguards, you can get these for around $300 or less on sale, used ones. So if this is what you can afford, they are reliable. I don't have any problems with this thing. It's about the smallest gun that I can possibly get in my state in a 380. Works extremely well. Or if you want the 10-shot LCP Max, lightweight, only a tiny bit thicker and a tiny bit longer than what you have with the Bodyguard. So it would be a good choice as well, but it could cost a little bit more than the M&P Bodyguard. So it's really up to you. I think any of these three are good choices. They're all reliable, they all function well, and any one of these I would be not hesitant to carry any day of the week. I can shoot them all about the same, and as long as they're reliable and they function well, that's what really matters. But for you, is it the right gun? I don't know. You have to go out to the range. You have to try each one of these on your own and figure out what fits your hands best, what you can rack the slide on best, what you can load the magazines best, what fits your price point, and what you can shoot accurately. That's more important than anything, I would say. So thanks again for watching another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. God bless America. Support your 2A rights. Get out there and shoot. And you remember, if someone asks you to give up some of your freedoms for the greater good, you remind them that freedom is the greater good. Also, on days like today, 85 degrees, 85% humidity, make sure you stay hydrated.
good old water.